Hello there. I wanted to update you on my 39th year of life reading challenge of reading In Search of Lost Time by Marcel Proust. This is volume one, Swann's Way. I'm about halfway through this volume, and you can see that I've given it a lot of love already, like I do with all of my books. I wanted to say the first thing that struck me about this text is how readable it is. It is so enjoyable. I've really been enjoying reading this text, and I thought, it was written in the early 1900s that there'd be a language barrier or a culture barrier, but it is not there. I love reading this book. Something a contemporary reader might find challenging is it's not a plot heavy book. So the plot is this is a life, and it's just telling you a life. If you've ever read David Copperfield, it's similar to that. I would say, and I'm a huge Dickens fan, but I would say this is actually even much more readable than David Copperfield. And I think really it's because the protagonist that is, zeroes in on these really poetic moments in his life that just seem kind of ordinary. And the way that he describes them just gives them life. And it's kind of life affirming for the reader, too. So the beginning one, which is just brilliant, is he laments his mother's kiss at night. He's kind of reaching that stage where, he shouldn't be getting kisses from his mom at night anymore. And he laments that. And he's almost angry about it. And there's a brilliant scene at the beginning. I won't ruin it for you if you haven't read it, but you should. Probably another highlight from this section was he has a transcendental moment eating a Madeleine and drinking a cup of tea. And if you haven't had a Madeleine before, these little pastries, they are absolutely delicious. I had no idea they had them back then, but of course it totally makes sense. And it's very French looking, I would say, this little pastry. But I have to read you this section about the Madeleine because it's just great. The little scalloped shell of pastry, so richly sensual under its severe religious folds, were either obliterated or had been so long dormant as to have lost the power of expansion which have allowed them to resume their place in my consciousness. But when, from a long distance past, nothing subsists after the people are dead, after the things are broken and scattered, taste and smell alone, more fragile but more enduring, more immaterial, more persistent, more faithful, remain poised a long time, like souls, remembering, waiting, hoping, amid the ruins of all the rest, and bear unflinchingly in the tiny and almost impalpable drop of their essence, the vast structure of recollection. Wow, right? And you can, if you didn't pick that up in there, he's talking about memory, and memory comes up a lot in here. I wondered to myself if, maybe Salvador Dali was capturing that same zeitgeist, or if, there was a potential maybe for them to be influenced by each other's work. But I know he dealt a lot with memory and dreams, and you get that sense in Proust's text as well, at least this volume. Another thing that he zeroes in on, and he has these poetic moments a lot. I know that may be challenging for some of us, but I think it's awesome, especially, with our penchant for technology and for staying on technology so long. And not seeing the world around us and appreciating the beauty of the world around us, this book almost seems, just perfect for a 21st century reader. So this is another one. It's a church steeple, and he, kind of divides up this town by the town and the church. And the church isn't pretty. He doesn't describe it as pretty, which I like, and on the outside is what he's talking about. But there's one part that is, which is the steeple. And I'm going to read you just this little part about the steeple. Without quite knowing why, my grandmother found in the steeple of St. Hilaire that absence of vulgarity, pretension, and which made her love, and deem rich in beneficent influences nature itself, when the hand of man had not, as did my great aunt's gardener, trimmed it in the works of genius. And certainly every part of the church that one saw distinguished it from any other building by a kind of innate thoughtfulness. It was in its steeple that it seemed most truly to find itself, to affirm its individual and responsible existence. It was the steeple that spoke for the church. And so his fondness for this kind of rundown church comes from the steeple and obviously the people that are in and around it. And this is a book of people too. I don't want to just cast it as a book of objects. There's a lot of really interesting characters in it that he destroys relationship with and cultivates relationships with, and this creates this very human type character. And this is what I'm thinking of the book so far. I look forward to our next session where we talk about the last half of the book. Have a good day.